Today, I'm going to break down the number one item every wealthy investor needs in order to make financial decisions. It's called the investor code. What's going on, everybody? My name is Maoli Vodi with financiallypresent.com, and today we are going to go over the number one thing that every wealthy investor needs in order to make financial decisions, especially when it comes to investing in other companies, hence the stock market. And it's called the investor code. It doesn't matter if it's Warren Buffett or Bill Gates or Elon Musk, or it could be Jay-Z, Oprah, Bob Johnson. It doesn't matter who these people are. If they're wealthy, they have this. It's an investor code. You know, the moral code that people live by, something that helps them know what's good and what's bad. The investor code is very, very similar. It's part of your subconscious, but if it isn't developed, it can be very difficult to navigate the investing environment. So, there are a list of questions all of these individuals have, and they ask themselves on a regular basis in order to make the financial decisions. Without their investor code, their personal investor code, they'll be lost, and they'll buy anything at any moment, and they can be easily distracted. But those people are not. They're very focused. Now, you as a new investor, you have to realize that you personally need an investor code that helps you make those decisions. And it's going to be very different from person to person. What works for you is not going to work for your dad or your mom or your sister or your cousin or your best friend. Your personal investment code is very, very different. Ultimately, when you ask these questions to yourself, it's going to help you understand whether or not you are okay with making a purchase. Whether it's selling a purchase or buying a new purchase, or even deciding to hold on to an investment. Now, as far as your investor code, we're going to keep it specific to buying stocks. That way we keep everything very simplistic. But before I get into the actual questions you're going to ask yourself, I want you to take a moment and hit that like button on the video, subscribe if you're new to the page, and hit that notification button so you don't miss out on future content. I have 10 questions that you can use for your investor code, and that way you'll be more confident when you make your investment decisions. Number one, does this increase or decrease my risk? Every investor has to wonder, what does this do to what I'm already invested in? If it's something that spikes up your level of risk, then you have to be willing to ride that out. If it's something that decreases it, that's even better, because now you have a competitive advantage. Number two, am I already covered in this field? There are many companies that do very similar things. If you're buying different companies that are popping up, like an IPO, for example, but is doing the same exact thing as another company, you have to question, hey, is there something that's more beneficial in buying this new company or buying more of what I already have that's working well? This is very, very common in the tech industry, where there are new ideas and the early adopters, they go and buy other companies up, or they copy the same ideas and they're able to scale faster. These are things to think about. Number three, am I willing to hold this stock for years and years and years to come? So that tells you how committed you are to this investment. If it's something that's very short term, you have to be very, very careful and strategic. But if it's something that you see a long-term vision that, hey, this company is going to be needed for a very long time because they are entering a space where no one is fulfilling this gap, that's something that's going to be very helpful to know when it comes to investing. Number four, can I find an exchange-traded fund that already owns this type of investment? An exchange-traded fund provides a different level of diversity than you would get if you bought the actual stock itself. And the exchange-traded fund helps reduce some of that risk by diversifying your investments. That's something to look at if you want to determine, hey, is this something worth my time? Number five, what advantage does this give to my portfolio? This is similar to, does this increase my risk or decrease my risk? Does it expose me to an industry that I didn't have access to in the first place? Does this help expand my portfolio so that now I'm more balanced as an investor? Because again, the way to be right about everything in the stock market is to be involved in many, many sectors. Number six, what are some alternatives that I'm not thinking of? there are other investments out there. Sometimes there are people that are already doing this and you may not realize it. They may not be as fancy or they're not trending as well, but they may be doing the exact thing as a brand new company. And they may be doing it better just quietly. And it may just be a matter of marketing or some other avenue. Number 7, and I think this is probably the most important for me especially, because this is how I operate. Does this company do well in more than one field? I don't like companies that only do one thing unless they do it well and they're the best at it. If I invest in a stock, I'm looking for something that provides multiple avenues of services, multiple products, multiple offerings, something that shows me that they're continuing to push that envelope and build. Number 8, is there anything unique about the company? What makes it stand out? Is there something that makes it so special that it's worth my investment? You're putting actual dollars behind it. So is it really worth it? Number 9, are there some political or geographical concerns that makes this more risky than I need it to be? Is this something that is this a product only offered overseas? Or are there other alternatives to the products that may be better in the long run? We think about things like carbon emissions and natural resources that get depleted over time. Are they going to be replaced by things that might be better? Think about that when you're finding these investments. And number 10, lastly, do other companies want to buy it? So if you're looking at a stock or a product and you are desiring it, you should also ask, hey, would other companies, other large companies be willing to buy this company out? That's a high sign of the value that the company may bring or the strength of the branding of that company. All of these things are very critical when it comes to figuring out your personal investor code. Feel free to use all 10 of these questions when it comes to your personal investor code. I want you to use them at your full discretion and feel free to even add more questions to them. If you think there's some other questions that I probably left out, feel free to leave them in the comments. And most importantly, if you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe so that you don't miss out on future content, and hit that notification button so that you're getting the first alert. And until then, stay present.